If you're having trouble with pesky birds, you might want to try this. What's happening, Panda Nation? Peter Von Panda here. Hey, I have been having some trouble with some birds. You might have trouble with birds too. For me, it's been woodpeckers lately, going after my house. I don't know why, but it gets kind of annoying. Now, woodpeckers aren't the only problematic birds out there. You might have trouble with all sorts of birds. Maybe birds that are nesting in places that they shouldn't be, maybe pooping in places that they shouldn't. And you just want to get rid of them, but you don't want to take drastic measures. Now, an owl is a predator, and they scare away birds, generally. It's usually these big eyes. Kind of interesting stats around that. But I wanted to put a fake owl out by where the woodpeckers like to gather and just see if it'll work scaring them away. Now, what you can do here is get a plastic owl, kind of like this, and just put it out there. But when they don't move from their position and they don't move around at all, sometimes the birds can get used to it, desensitized to it, and maybe even land on it, but eventually it stops scaring them away. So I picked this up. This is, one of these, I think, injection molded, maybe vacuum molded plastic owls. It's pretty light. It's hollow inside, and if I just flip up the bottom right there, you can see there's this plastic cap. So you can fill this with sand or pebbles, and that'll weight it down so you can put it somewhere without it blowing away. It's just painted. It looks decently real at a glance. Probably won't fool a bunch of people. It stands pretty tall. It looks like about the size of a regular owl. But what we have here is a detachable head, because that head will sit up there and the head will move around. So the nice thing is the breeze is going to be my friend here and maybe give the owl some lifelike movements that might help scare away the birds. Now, what's funny is I'm going to just tell you that I've been doing some reading, and it's the eyes, apparently, that scare away birds. Now, you might have birds at airports and places that they are really dangerous, and what they have found here is that fake dogs, fake swans, things like that work a little bit, but just putting two big eyes out by runways seems to work the best. And in fact, some airports now just have a big LED screen and they just have two big googly eyes, and part of that is apparently birds are programmed to recognize eyes because the rest of the bird is often camouflaged, and so that's often enough to scare them away. And so I've seen some woodpecker repellent tools that are just hanging eyes too. Now, I think this is going to be better for other little birds too, and I'm kind of curious to see if it actually does work. First of all, we have a concavity right here, and basically just a metal screw with this little plastic bulb on the top. What this does is it allows this little screw with this plastic disc in there to kind of sit right in there. Now, I will say it's just two pieces of plastic that are sitting on each other. It's not really a ball and socket. It's really like just a disc. And this is open. It does have an opening here, but it kind of fits right in the top. Now, that allows it, as you can see, to kind of gimbal like this. But the problem with this is it's not super low friction. So I actually have to put a little muscle in this, and I've seen models where they have like a clear fin off the back of the head to kind of catch the breeze and move a little bit more. I'm a little worried that it's not free floating enough to just kind of move in a gentle breeze. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put a little dab of grease on there as well, just to kind of give it a little bit more fluidity. Now, a couple of things that I want to mention here is you can see there's a pretty big gap between the head and the neck. And you kind of need that because the head might dip and you don't want them to interfere with each other. But it does break the illusion just a little bit. Obviously, in a real owl, they would have feathers that cover up, pretty much any of these open spots. So hopefully that won't hurt the illusion here. Now, this head is also plastic here. The eyes are actually kind of like doll eyes. They're kind of clear. They have a lot of depth and reflectivity, which I think is going to help. Inside here, which is kind of interesting, you can see that little disc that it balances on, but we have a weight here, I think, to help counterbalance it. And then I also noticed inside here we have a bunch of dry goop, and I think that is also kind of in the manufacturing process when they put this together. That's how they do the final balancing. So I think that's just more weight to kind of make sure that the head sits flush. All right, so now what I need to do is grease it up, fill it with some weights, and put it outside and see if it works. So there he is. I've gone ahead and filled it up with dirt. I would actually recommend sand because the opening on the bottom isn't really big enough for the rocks that I have in this area. So unless you have a lot of gravel, you might have trouble filling it up. But mine is filled up with dirt, and did go ahead and grease this. And one thing that I realized is once you put the head on, you actually want to push it down. It'll snap into that little plastic ball, and it will kind of float in the ball itself. And that will actually prevent it from coming off too in a strong wind. But as you can see, kind of bobbles around a lot more freely now that I figured out that you snap the head into that little ball joint. So the head moves around pretty easily, but again, it's a pretty still day here, so I don't see it moving around a lot. Now, I will also say that because of just kind of the manufacturing, and this isn't super precise, you can see that the base kind of wiggles here, but I actually think that's an advantage if we do get a little breeze here, that the whole bird might move as well as the head. So that might be nice for kind of scaring off birds. Maybe just that little unexpected twitch might be enough to get them to seek a new place. So hopefully you will earn your keep. If you want to pick up this guy, I'll put a link to him in the description below. Peter Von Panda, out.